So it looks like the American Book Review published an article called 100 Best First Lines from Novels in 2006. So I thought we would be nicely on time to look at them together. I want to give credit to another dear book YouTuber. His channel is called Read Red, and he mentioned this list in one of his videos. I really recommend you check out the video because there's some beautiful first lines in there. And also, I think if you like my channel, you might like his channel as well. I really appreciate how little editing he does, no crazy cuts or music, and it just feels like you're in a room with a friend and you're talking about books. So maybe you'll like his channel. And I thought, let's go through those lines. I'm not gonna do all 100 of them. I think that will be a bit too much, but I'm gonna do the first 30. Oh yeah, I actually made it 31 lines because I saw that the 31st one was Fyodor Dostoevsky's I am a sick man, I am a spiteful man, from Notes from Underground. And I just love this first line. There's this wonderful solo interpretation of this novel on YouTube. I'm gonna, play a little link or leave it in the description down below. I have so much respect for this actor and what he does. So I highly recommend you check that out. Maybe read along. Just this seeing that makes me wanna become an actor. And I think a very punching, poignant first line. So number 30 is by William Gibson's Neuromancer from 1984. The sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel. Ooh, I love that. Okay, I'm gonna take a little marker and mark the ones I really love. Number 29 from Ha Yin, Waiting, written in 1999. Every summer, Lin Kong returned to Goose Village to divorce his wife, Shuyu. Okay. Wow. All right. That's interesting. 28. My mother died today. All right. That is from Albert Camus' The Stranger, translated by Stuart Gilbert. Also a very iconic opening line. I really like how they also mention the translator. I think that is so important, and we need to acknowledge and respect the work that translators do a lot more, I think. So that is lovely. All right, then we have number 27, Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote, written in 1605, translated by Edith Grossman. Somewhere in La Mancha, in a place whose name I do not care to remember, a gentleman lived not long ago, one of those who has a lance, an ancient shield, on a shelf, and keeps a skinny nag and a greyhound for racing. Actually, I have Don Quixote here. It's the first novel we had to read for my literature studies. And I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. I haven't read all of it. I just had to read like the first 13 chapters or something. I don't know. There's some cruelty in there that is a little bit hard to swallow, and what the story is about is also not exactly what the topic that would interest me much. But I do respect the influence this novel had, and I will try to finish it. What really helped me was getting the Spanish as well, and I have a friend of mine, she's studying Roman languages, and she reads some lines to me now and then in the original when I ask her to, so that is great. Number 26 is Toni Morrison's Beloved from 1987, and the line goes, 124 was spiteful. Alright, then we have number 25, Through the fence between the curling flower spaces, I could see them hitting. Alright, that's William Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury from 1924. I'm very excited to get into Faulkner. I know he's part of my course on the topic of time and memory in literature that I'm currently taking. So very excited to see what he's doing with that. Let's move on to number 24. It was a wrong number that started it. The telephone ringing 3 times in the dead of night, and the voice on the other end asking for someone he was not. Ooh, that is good. Paul Auster's City of Glass from 1985. Sorry, I'm gonna mark that one. Number 23. One summer afternoon, Mrs. Oedipa Maas came home from a Tupperware party whose hostess had put perhaps too much kirsch in the fondue, that to find that she, Oedipa, had been named executor, or she supposed executrix, of the estate of one Pierce in Verarity, a California real estate mogul who had once lost $2 million in his spare time, but still had assets numerous and tangled enough to make the job of sorting it all out more than honorary. All right, it's a really long sentence. Thomas Pynchon, The Crying of Lot 49 from 1966. Wow, okay, interesting. Number 22. It was a dark and stormy night. The rain fell in torrents, except at occasional intervals when it was checked by a violent gust of wind which swept up the streets, for it is in London that our scene lies, rattling along the housetops and fiercely agitating the scanty flames of the lamps that struggled against the darkness. Edward Church Ball Lytton, Paul Clifford from 1830. I have to say I never heard about that. Also, I think wouldn't be my favorite line of those. Let's move on to number 21. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. That is James Joyce's Ulysses from 1922. I actually just bought this yesterday, not because I'm necessarily planning to read it all. I don't feel confident enough for that yet, but it is the book that is one of the books that is most mentioned in my studies, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should just get it so at least I can leaf through it from time to time and look up the passages that are constantly referenced. Yes, I'm very curious about that. I find James Joyce such an interesting person from what I heard so far. Yeah, but that's a good opening line, I would say. Let's move on to number 20. Whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life, or whether that station will be held by anybody else, these pages must show. Of course, that is Charles Dickens' David Copperfield from 1850. I first heard that opening line in a podcast by Hardcore Literature, Benjamin McAvoy's podcast. That is really good. I'm gonna link that down below as well. I recommend you check it out. He's such an amazing interpreter of texts, and he collected all his favorite first lines. So yeah, that was one of them. Wonderful. That is a really, to me, that is an A+ opening line. So good. All right, number 19, we have another long one again. I wish either my father or my mother, or indeed both of them, as they were in duty both equally bound to it, had minded what they were about when they begot me, had they duly considered how much depended upon what they were doing, that not only the production of a rational being was concerned in it, but that possibly the happy formation and temperature of his body, perhaps his genius, and the very cast of his mind, and for aught they knew to the contrary, even the fortunes of his whole house might take their turn from the humorous and dispositions which were then uppermost, had they duly weighed and considered all this, and proceeded accordingly, I am very persuaded I should have made a quite different figure in the world from that in which the reader is likely to see me. Wow. Lawrence Sterne, Tristram Shandy, written from 1751 till 1767. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I know that a study colleague of mine is doing a course in English literature, and she has to read Tristram Shandy, so that's wonderful. Number 18. This is the saddest story I have ever heard. From Ford Madox Ford, The Good Soldier in 1915. All right. Number 17. Once upon a time, and a very good time it was, there was a moo cow coming down along the road, and this moo cow that was coming down along the road met a nice little boy named Baby Taku. Alright, I probably pronounced that wrong, but that is James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, written in 1916. Number 16. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born, and what my lousy childhood was like, and how my parents were occupied, and all before they had me, and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. Ooh, J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye from 1951. Iconic. Number 15. The sun shone, having no alternative, on the nothing new. Ooh, that might be my favorite so far. That is Samuel Beckett Murphy from 1938. Someone commented that on my video of my first lines, and I remember this was the one that really stuck with me. How beautiful. The sun shone, having no alternative, on the nothing new. Definitely gonna highlight that one. Number 14. You're about to begin reading Italo Calvino's new novel, If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler. Alright, that is Italo Calvino, If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler from 1979, translated by William Weaver. Wonderful. Simple, clever, I would say. Number 13. Someone must have slandered Joseph K. For one morning, without having done anything truly wrong, he was arrested. Franz Kafka, The Trial, translated by Brian Mitchell. Yes, I had to read that in school, as well as the Metamorphosis. Kafka is so special. We just talked about him in school, and in how many ways he was interpreted, based on psychological and religious and political backgrounds at the time. Really wonderful. Also looking forward to learn more about his life, actually. But let's move on. Number 12. You don't know about me without you have read a book by... You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. But that ain't no matter. Okay, that is Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from 1885. Then we have number 11. The Miss Lonely Hearts of the New York Post-Dispatch. Are you in trouble? Do you need advice? Write to Miss Lonely Hearts and she will help you. Sat at his desk and stared at the piece of white cardboard. Ooh, that sounds lovely. Nathaniel West, Miss Lonely Hearts from 1933. Ooh, number 10. I Am an Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Invisible Man. I've been wanting to get around to reading that for the longest time, so I'm gonna mark it here. That sounds absolutely amazing. Oh yeah, the next one is also one that someone commented on my video. I was really happy to read that. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. Beautiful, from 1859. I love that. Number 8, we're getting close. It was a bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13. George Orwell's 1984, written in 1949. I think everyone knows this opening line. Pretty amazing. Every time I read that, I imagine a clock with 13 hours on it. Yeah, quite wonderful. Alright, number 7. River Run, past Eve and Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by a commodious vicus of recirculation back to Hoth Castle and environs. That is James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake from 1939. Again, Benjamin McAvoy from Hardcore Literature mentioned that book many times, and he always says he finds that one much more difficult than Ulysses. So, you know, maybe once I'm bored with Ulysses, I'll get into that. I'm kidding, of course. Alright, number 6. Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Also so iconic, of course, it's Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, in this case translated by Constance Garnett. It was funny when I had to do my enrollment test for university. That was one of the questions had to do with different translations of Anna Karenina, and yeah, that was, I thought that was really cool. I was like, okay, I'm right here. Number 5, of course, we have Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita, Light of my life, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul. I also mentioned that one in my First Lines video. Of course, to me that is, yeah, I wish I could write like that. Absolutely wonderful. Next, number 4. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. Alright, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude, from 1967, translated by Gregory Rabassa. Yeah, Marquez is also going to be in my course on time, because apparently he did very interesting things with writing about time or simulating time. So I'm very excited to read 100 Years of Solitude as well. I heard from so many people that it's their favorite book ever, so we'll see. Number 3, A Screaming Comes Across the Sky by Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow from 1973. Absolutely beautiful. Number 2, another very iconic one. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Of course, that is Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice from 1813. Someone help me with this though, because look, here's my copy. I don't know how far I've gotten into it, maybe 100 pages or something. I just don't really get it. I don't know if there's something I'm not seeing, or if I'm not trying hard enough, but to me it all seems just like gossipy, I don't know, uninteresting things. I don't know. Does anybody have a suggestion on how to get into Jane Austen? Please, I would be very happy about it. I know it's me, it's not her. I want to do what I can. Don't get mad at me, but I don't know, this was just not really it. Yeah, and so now we're at number 1, Call Me Ishmael, Herman Melville's Moby Dick from 1851. Of course, that had to be all the way on top. I feel like, so many of those, especially in the top 10, I've heard so many times at this point that I'm not even sure whether it's good to keep mentioning them, because in my ears it's just starting to sound a little bit dull, like Call Me Ishmael. I feel like I've heard that too many times by now. Yeah, so, I do recommend check out Reed Red's video. He has a couple of opening lines in there that really gave me straight up goosebumps, and also that I didn't know yet, so that is absolutely wonderful. You can, if you want, check out my video as well on First Lines, and I'm gonna link the Hardcore Literature book club video or podcast about First Lines down below as well. I do like how the American Book Review says that the editor, Charlie Harris, contacted reviewers and critics, literature professors, writers and readers to submit First Lines for consideration and then vote and rank them top 100 opening lines. But they also say that First Lines or best lists are inherently subjective, arbitrary and hierarchical, and should be thought of more as a survey of a cultural and aesthetic standard of current tastes and values rather than a definitive collection. Yeah, so I think that is really important to keep in mind with those things. Yeah, I just wanted to make this video to go through it together. Let me know if you have found a novel or two you definitely want to read from this. I definitely have a couple that I want to get into. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I see you again soon. Bye bye.